Good morning, I'm back from Germany. I was in Gamescom this week in Cologne. Just wanted to give you some thoughts about how I think the show went, what we saw there, and how it stacked up against E3. Firstly, I believe completely that Gamescom is a more relevant show than E3, which has become a very much, I think, a US-centric thing. And because it's being, I said this publicly after E3, I think that because it has this retail-only focus, it's just losing relevance. Gamescom is a consumer event first and foremost, where the idea really is to make sure that people get to play these games before the Christmas period. So because of that, all the games are there. It's a huge show, far more sort of Las Vegas style in terms of the actual setting, in these massive like hangar style consumer rooms, and obviously there's a business bit as well where we sort of see stuff behind closed doors. But because it's a consumer facing show, everything's there. And you know, if you want to go and see PC games or casual games or mobile games, it's all there, and you don't have to. E3 has just become this sort of set of like AAA headlines, and that's not indicative of where video gaming is right now. And if we take a look at like Sony, at the platform holders and what they did, Sony had a really good press conference. I think far stronger than E3 personally. We saw a new PSP model announced at a price cut that was good. We saw Jim Ryan being announced as the new president of Ski. You may think that's boring, but he's going to be the public face of PlayStation for the next few years, or however long, and so you better get used to him. And it was good to see him on stage for the first time. We saw the global PS3 price cut. That's you can't want for a better headline than that. It's pretty cool. Shame it leaked. And obviously we had Vita. Now Vita, I think, was probably the big headline for the show, and not for the reason you think. I came away from Gamescom really believing that Sony actually understands what Vita needs to be to succeed as a mobile device. I think they completely get it in a way that Nintendo doesn't with 3DS. Before they even spoke about any games for Vita, they showed off its social connectivity, so things like Facebook, Twitter, its browser, all of the things that everybody now expects a mobile device to be able to do constantly. It does, and they showed that first before they showed any games whatsoever. There are two models, 3G and Wi-Fi, and if you were putting 2 and 2 together and making 5, you'd sort of see that they're aiming for this iPad mentality, where Shuya Yoshida told us that the only way people can get Vita is to hold it, because it's supposed to shine in your hands. It's quite a big thing, and I think a lot of people are going to buy it and sit at home and play it. It won't just be, it's not. Yes, of course, it's a portable thing, but I think a lot of people will buy the wireless version and just use it at home, just as they do with iPad. But Vita does give a unique handheld gaming experience that you can't get on iPad, on iPhone, or on an Android phone. It's different, and they understand it. I think they've carved a niche for it, and I think it has its place as a result of that in a way that 3DS does not. And all that came from Gamescom, and that was a good thing. Microsoft is a bit of a weird show for them. They don't really do a press conference, so it's very easy to say that they don't care about it, and I don't believe that's true at all. There's also a really high standard of people to interview there, and they use it to reinforce their message. All of the sort of big core stuff gets shown at E3, and then it gets shown again at Gamescom, but it's more about sort of getting to know it and getting to understand where they are as a company. I saw a lot of Connect stuff. I spent quite a lot of the day with them on Wednesday, seeing things like Connect Sports Season 2, and they put me in front of the Disney game with Shannon Loftus, who's the sort of the Connect evangelist within Microsoft, and I got to hug Cinderella. But I also got to interview her and do some sort of pretty crunchy stuff on where Connect is and whether or not they're going to iterate on new hardware and stuff like this. I think it really displayed to me just how intrinsic the entire concept of Kinect is to Xbox 360. The fact that they're showing me this stuff, because obviously VG247 is very much a core site. Very interesting, and again, not possible at E3 to get that sort of depth of understanding about what they're doing as a company. And the same is true of Sony. Speaking to them like off the record and after the press conference, they're far more relaxed, and I think they have a far greater understanding now of what they're doing. And that is not possible at E3. It's only really possible here. In Germany. So yeah, very very much valid because of that. As for the third parties, EA, I mean, they have a blistering lineup this year. Battlefield is game of the show. I mean, I honestly can't recall. I think the last time I recall people getting so excited about a core product was probably Modern Warfare 2. Where they had this real, as Danny Bilson has it, this event gaming thing going on where there's this real, oh my god, I must own that on the first day. Battlefield just knocked it out the park. I mean, that game just looks absolutely stunning. That sort of Caspian border trailer just left everyone just absolutely gobsmacked. Brilliant game. Mass Effect 3 getting a lot of love, and obviously, a good show for EA, and it's a chance to really sort of get a look at those products. I mean, we interviewed Ray Musker on the Old Republic. We've got a big DICE interview going up later on. It's good to be able to spend some time with those guys the guys that really understand those games, and to just see where they are and why these things are relevant. It's very hard at E3 to get that kind of insight, and you can really do that at Gamescom. Also, because Gamescom is a consumer event and it's open and it's in Germany, which is very much a PC-loving country, companies like Blizzard and NCSoft go pretty hard at Gamescom, and it's great to see those PC games, the big PC games, getting the attention that they might not get at E3. E3 is pretty console-centric. So we saw NCSoft announce WildStar. We did a really great interview on that, and we got to see that for the first time on Tuesday. Fantastic, absolutely just polished to a lunatic level, and it's nowhere near done. And very very cool and very exciting. Something completely different. Again, to announce that at E3 would just be far too great a gamble. It could just be ignored, because it was Gamescom. I think I got to spend, I was with the game and interviewing people for 2 hours, 2.5 hours. At E3 that was just completely unthinkable, and we're very very pleased to have been able to sort of get some real time with the game and to sort of understand it just on a sort of top level. But that was very exciting. Diablo 3 as well. Blizzard went very hard with it. Lots of people very excited about that. Obviously, we're extremely excited about Diablo, and Germany is the Blizzard stand at Gamescom is mobbed, really mobbed on the consumer days, because it's just such a big deal to those guys, and yeah, it's good for them to have a platform outside of BlizzCon to be able to show those products to people that really get them. They couldn't do that at E3 because it's not a consumer event. The E3 organizer really do need to look at that and consider moving it to somewhere like Las Vegas and making it a consumer show. I don't know how long E3 can be truly relevant in the way it was unless they do start looking at alternate models. Exciting. Also, because of Gamescom being the way it is, companies like Sega do get to shine a little bit in the way that they can't do at E3. They kind of get swallowed a bit at E3. Same with Capcom, and they sort of target Gamescom because it's a more sort of thoughtful event. There's a slower pace to it. So Sega showed some big games. They got Anarchy Reigns, the Platinum title. They showed Sonic Generations. Again, Sonic Generations at E3, it's just it's the Sonic game, and it just sort of gets passed over. But because because people have more time, they get to sit down and take a look at it. Alex took a look at it for us. They said it was great. We've got some stuff coming on that, and Sega showed something, Aliens Colonial Marines. Again, like we did a big piece on that. People are really excited about that game, and it gives this sort of Gamescom allows this sort of second wave of like big titles to get the headlines in the year. So at E3 we had Skyrim, Battlefield, and so on, and they were all at Gamescom. But Gamescom allows this sort of second wave of titles to sort of rise up and make sure they get noticed, and it's very valuable for that. THQ as well, really good show here. A lot of good things about their stand. People getting really excited about Last Light, and I think they're taking a look at how EA's playing the Battlefield marketing. They're showing it on top PCs. There's lots of physics going on, tons of effects. They released some stunning screenshots, and people are getting very knocked out by that. There was some, there were people coming up to me sort of saying, have you seen it? Have you seen Last Light? And people weren't saying that about the original Metro. I think there's some real excitement about that game now, and I really hope they do very well with it. So yeah, looks very cool. So good show for THQ as well. Ubisoft, a lot of love for Assassin's Creed. Again, like speaking to people like off the records. People in other companies are really excited about that game. I don't think it doesn't really surprise me, but it does actually sometimes really surprise me just how universally loved Assassin's Creed really is within the industry. Everyone really loves playing Assassin's Creed, and a lot of people getting very excited about that. Again, like Assassin's Creed Revelations was a big headline for E3, but it's so strong as an IP that. Even though there's sort of complaints about milking this year, there's been one a year for like the last 4 years or something. People still extremely excited about that, so like it's belayed any cynicism, and certainly when you actually see it, I mean, technically it just looks phenomenal. I mean, if you're into Assassin's Creed, it's just an absolute no-brainer. You must have it. So yeah, good. Lots of stuff on Far Cry bobbing around as well. I think that's going to be really fantastic. But again, it's a good show for Ubisoft to sort of let people get lots of time. Ghost Recon was there as well. I think Johnny saw that briefly. I'm not sure. I think he might have been a bit waylaid, but yeah, it was a good show for Ubisoft as well. Bethesda as well. They were there. They've got their set of products for the year. I mean, Skyrim is dead cert success, and it was one of the biggest headlines at E3 this year. They had all of their stuff there as well, but again, because we've kind of seen all that before, the focus tends to get sort of put on this sort of second wave that's coming through. But again, Bethesda's lineup this year very, very strong, and there were new demos of Skyrim and so on. So yeah, we'll have stuff on that soon. Capcom as well. They used it. They used the show to good advantage. They showed. What's it bloody called? Steel Battalion for the first time in the Kinect thing. It's been a long time coming, but there it was. Very mixed reactions to that. I think that some people thought it was really gory. Some people were quite surprised that it turned into a human drama. But there was certainly a lot of opinion about that game. A lot of people really wanted to see it, and it certainly created a buzz at the show. And we saw the first ever gameplay of DMC. Again, we got access to the game's producer. We got to Tamim from Ninja Theory, from the US producer, so the Japanese producer. The sort of thing at E3 is just completely unthinkable, and the game looks really cool, very, very Bayonetta-y. There's a lot of sort of surreal stuff going on in it. We got some really great quotes about how the haters should wait until they get their hands on it and stuff like this. So we'll have that up in the next few days. But to wrap up, great show. Much more sort of thoughtful pace than E3, and because it's a consumer event that's held in a very, very big venue in a really fantastic city, I think it's far more relevant than E3 has become in the last couple of years. And I would really urge you, if you've never been, go next year. It's a really, really great show, and yeah, I don't know what else to say other than that. That's it from me, and I hope you have an absolutely amazing weekend. Just want to say a massive thank you to the VG247 team who really, really killed it this week, and we will see you on Monday.